I have that. There it goes. All right, everyone. Welcome to the Digital Insurance Agent Podcast. I'm Carl Willis, and today joining me is Caden Braly. He is with AgentsTech, and we're going to be talking a lot about what they can do for your insurance agency, a little bit about their company. And so, Caden, I'll let you take it from there. Introduce yourself and tell us what you guys have going on.
Yeah, so again, my name is Caden. I'm the CEO, co-founder and CEO of AgentsTech. And in short, we are a technology consulting firm for independent and a little bit of captive insurance brokers. So we are really based in helping insurance agents of all kinds figure out what their next steps are to help push their company into the 21st century when it comes to technology, when it comes to any sort of software that you can think of, all the way to cybersecurity, anything you can think of, heck, even to like, hey, what laptop should I buy for all of my employees if they're all working from home, and all the things like that. So we kind of go in, we have a 4-step process that we work with for all of the agents that come through. We start off by just asking really, really in-depth questions about your agency, all of course under an NDA, just so that agents can be at ease knowing that their information is not going to get out. And then from there, from those questions, we help pair up agents with technology companies that are going to help solve their problems by doing 3 things, which is increasing revenue, increasing efficiency, or decreasing costs. That's our main actionable results-driven goals that we have for every single agent that we work with. And then from there, it goes into kind of the back end, which is implementation and integration. So actually helping you get set up with those individual companies that we pair you with, whether it's sitting on the calls with you, answering questions you have about, how to use these within your companies or whatever it could be. And then also the integration of, hey, how do we make sure that these softwares, these technologies that that you just paid a couple $100s a month for, integrate well into your current processes, well, whether that means physically integrating into your AMS or your CRM system, or integrating in a way of your business processes. So we just got this data holding company for when we input all the customer information when they call in. How do we take that from the initial customer calling in to a quote that we can get back to them, and that process all the way through? And then step 4 is training. So that's our big deal, is making sure that agents and employees know how to use these softwares, because right now 60% of agents, 60% of employees do not use the technology that their agents pay for. So that pretty much means the agent can just cut a check for $1,000 a month, cut it in half and throw it in the trash, because none of that technology that they're using is getting utilized. So we help kind of break down the walls of why are we not using, is it actual thing of we don't know how to use this, or is it more deep than, hey, we're kind of scared to use this, like we don't want to mess it up? Or some people, which are the people I really are hard to work with sometimes, are the ones that said, oh, we've done it like this for years and years and years, I don't want to change it. It's like, okay, well, in a couple of years you're going to get beat out by a lot of other agents that can spit out quotes in 5 seconds compared to you that takes 24 to 48 hours to get a quote back. So that's a very quick overview of what we do, but hope that explains it.
So let's dive into that a little bit. So what led you to really create the company and your service? What was kind of your journey to get there? Obviously kind of sounds like maybe this comes from experience, and that experience really was the thing that propelled the business forward here.
Yeah, so it started out a couple of years ago when our agency, so I still work for an independent brokerage based in Dallas. We've grown significantly over time, but it started out with, I came on, I was like, goodness, all of my friends that work in different agencies, they have these amazing softwares that are just light years ahead of what we have to do. At the time that I came into our brokerage, we were still filling out paper PDFs and faxing them to underwriters, or fillable PDFs, and not all the information was on there. Underwriters were really angry at us when it came to like commercial lines insurance or whatever the situation may be. And then I got to a point where I said, there has to be a better way. This cannot be this multi-billion dollar, one of the top 10 industries in the whole world. This cannot be the way that this operates in 2021, 2022, 2023, all of that time period. So we kind of started on convinced our CEO, who's also my dad. So I'm an insurance, raised in insurance from the time I was born until now. But I convinced him, I said, we have to onboard technology. We're going to get left in the dust when it comes to other potential agents, that are way ahead of us, or people that have figured it out. So we onboarded a lot of technology. We saw a lot of revenue growth. We saw a year-over-year average of 25% revenue increase in new business, and our retention increased by 3%. So not only did we see on the front end business coming in, but we saw people staying longer. We attributed it to the technology that we are working with. Not all of it obviously was from technology. I'd be ignorant to say, oh, we implemented this technology and that was all that we needed to make our company grow that much. It was a combination of that and some other consulting that we had, but that's what we saw. And then the specific for AgentsTech is I actually went to a conference for travelers it was in Connecticut. And so I go there, and by this time we had a lot of success with all of the technology that we onboarded. And we were kind of just chatting, at dinner about different things, how our agency was going. And I heard people always say, man, I have this problem and I don't know what to do about it. Or, I have people calling in and not getting enough information to get the quote in because our agents are writing it on paper, or fill in the blank with whatever problem an agency may have. And I was just thinking, I was like, we already solved that. Like, we know, like, that's not a problem for us anymore. And so I would just kind of tell people, like, hey man, like, we use this, maybe that could help you, I don't know. And I had 3 people after like one specific dinner that said, I need to get your card, we have problems and we need your help. And I was like, whoa, hey man, I just sell insurance. That I'm not a tech consultant guy. And I went home, and on the plane ride home, I was like, there's something here. There's something here of agents that are really having issues, because there's a major gap between the massive insurance brokerage, the massive State Farm brokers, the massive independent brokers, whatever it may be. There's a massive technological knowledge gap between them, and then the smaller guys, the guys that are doing 1, 2, 3, up to 20 million in premium a year. There's just not a lot there. So we kind of come in to fill that gap. And then we started rolling with it. We got the company set up. When I got back to Dallas, we talked to our vendors and said, hey, this is something that we're doing. Are you willing to partner with us, to help us grow this? And they're on board 100%, obviously, because they were going to get more business, but they were on board and have helped us out. So that's kind of really how we got started. And now we're making our way into different, insurance aggregators, into different organizations throughout the US, and it's growing rapidly. So we're very excited.
So let's back up a little bit. When you first focused with your own agency, what were the key areas that you had to make transitions in to get to the place where you saw that growth? So what was really kind of the prototype? If you think through that process, what were the conversions that you had to make in your own agency? And then kind of to springboard off of that question, as you're working with clients, what tend to be the top few things that you find, if they'll make those adjustments, deliver the greatest value long-term?
Yeah. So I would say within our own agency, a big thing that we saw was there's a lot. I could literally name every single thing that we did, but that would take a long time. I would say the top thing that we saw coming in was we found a lead generation and commercial insurance rater that we worked with, that, obviously we were independent, so we were able to use that. And they had a leads generation company that they work with that would give us live transfer leads that were closing at 75%, which is insane for any sort of live transfer. If you've done any like personal lines, live transfer, commercial lines, live transfer, usually it's garbage. But for some reason, these leads, to this day, we still use that same company. I've had 40, 50, $120,000 accounts come from a live transfer that we paid like $100 for. That was one of our biggest, like, okay, we can actionably see that this source has caused us increased revenue. That's a big thing that we work with. Another big thing that we worked with we had an issue, and I said it earlier, of people not getting enough information to get the most accurate home and auto quote possible. So we found a company that goes really in depth when it comes to getting all the information about a home, about vehicles, individuals, umbrella insurance, things like that. And when it did that, it integrated so well with our AMS and CRM system that it became like the main focus of where we start incoming, like inbound leads that come in, just someone calling in because they found us on Google or something along those lines. And because it was integrated so well with our AMS and our CRM, it cut down our time for getting all the data, like double entry between two different systems, by about 50%. So the amount of time that agents got back because they just had to enter one place instead of going to like 2 or 3 separate places was drastic. So those I would say are the big two. And then also we do a lot of excess and surplus business. So at the time we were using a premium finance company for our larger commercial accounts that was just so archaic when it came to doing business. Like we basically had to write on a piece of paper all the payment information for someone and fax it over to them, fax it to their premium finance company, and then they would process it. And we found another company that does premium finance so much easier for the company, for the business that we're working with, to see, okay, what are your monthly payments going to be like, instead of just me telling you. And there could be a discrepancy between what I say and what the premium finance company charges them. So that was probably our top 3 things that we saw. And then with the clients that we're working with, it's all really dependent on their needs. So, I said step 1 is a really in-depth conversation with them about what are your needs, because we are not going to just offer you a blanket of everything and say, hey, here's 15 softwares, good luck. It's, to be honest with you, it's going to be based off of the individual need of the agency. For example, if I go to a smaller, let's just say a company that's doing 1 to 5 million in premium, they're still doing great. They're still paying their bills. They have a very good influence in their local community. But if I go and offer them Salesforce, which is the most complex CRM in the world, that's going to be overwhelming for them. And it's also going to be way too expensive for what they need to do. Now, if I go offer something else like Agency Zoom, which is a very, very good option for smaller agencies to use because it's affordable and it's very simple, that's going to help them more because it's going to take less time for them to onboard it, less time for them to understand it, to where it can just become like a next level agency. But like I said, it's dependent on the individual agents. We've seen a lot of people that just need a way better website, because people come to their website. We found one agency, their website was so confusing that people would go into their website looking for a quote, but they would leave because they couldn't figure out where to contact them. They couldn't find the phone number or the email or like the request a quote button. We had one where they had on average, I think it was 10 to 15 people a week coming to try to get a quote. They pressed the request a quote button and they got an error message. And so those people are just like, that's the first negative thing in their mind, is that, okay, this company doesn't even have a good website. I'm going somewhere else. And we fixed that. And they started getting like 5 to 10 leads a week. So that's what I would say. It's all dependent on the individual. And we have a technology for almost every single situation, but we also can help go out and find ones if we don't have one for a certain situation.
Excellent. And so when you're in your process, once you've helped the agent identify, the right tools, get those things implemented, what's kind of the back end support? What role do you take on at that point with the agent and the agency?
Yeah, so we have a couple different options. Our process, and I'm very upfront with our company, how we price things, how long our contracts are. We've been in situations with other companies where they said, oh, we got a 12-month contract. And then by month 4 or 5, you're like, well, this is dumb. Like I'm spending thousands of more dollars for nothing. So our contracts are 4 months long. That's the minimum. And the reason we have them at 4 months is because that's how long it will take to onboard some of these systems, some of these softwares that we're recommending. We do not want to overwhelm agents. That's a big thing. A lot of consultants, because there are competitors and tech consultants and other people, what they'll do is they'll go in, they'll offer a bunch of different resources, and then the agent, whose number one responsibility is what? Selling and servicing insurance, gets taken away because they're having to focus on implementing a certain software or things like that. And that's at the moment when they're implementing that, it's non-revenue producing. It's taking time out of their day. So we go in, we make sure, okay, 4 months, that's a good time frame. We can have like a 1 meeting a week, 30 minutes. Hey, where are we at with this? Let's follow up with this software. That's our process. Month 1 and 2 is literally just onboarding and integrating all the softwares. Month 3 and 4 is the actual training of it, of those softwares. And then on the back end, the actual training could be, we have a group webinar with all of the employees that just go over physically, how do we use this software? A lot of software companies already have that, but from our surveys that we've had with certain software companies, for them, they don't like to do it. It's a non-revenue producing activity for the software company. So you'll have maybe 1 or 2 that are really good. And then after that, when you need extra support, there's nothing. Or so they're saying, hey, I'm your software sales rep and we can do a training, but can you schedule it for a month out or 2 months out? And you're like, no, I need it now. So we kind of help with that. And then also individualized training. Maybe you have a couple of employees that you have seen are just not using the software. And you're like, hey, if I'm paying you, if I know as an agent, I know that this software is going to revolutionize our agency, but you're not using it. So how can we make sure that you use it? That's when we can have, one-on-one training conversations, maybe ask some questions about whatever their issues are. I mean, there's times where I was like, okay, this is kind of turning into like a counseling session with your employees, because they're telling me, oh, well, I don't use the software because I'm scared that my agency owner is going to get mad at me. And then they go on this tangent about how their agency owner doesn't treat them well and all this. I'm like, okay, hold on. I don't think I need to know that, but that's kind of where we're at, is making an individualized approach per agency when it comes to all this, because it's not easy. So that's kind of what I say. I know that's a mouthful.
Okay, excellent. So Caden, if somebody wants to learn more about what you do, where can they find you? What's the best way to get a hold of you?
Yeah. So you can just email me at Caden. So if you see my name down there, it's CADEN at AgentsTech, AgentsTech.com. Or you can just look me up on LinkedIn, Caden Braly. DM me on LinkedIn, or our website is very simple, just AgentsTech, no spaces.com. And you can submit a consultation request form and we'll reach out to you.
Fantastic. Any final thoughts, anything else you'd like to convey to the agents out there that are listening?
Oh man, I would just say that technology is something that has been feared by a lot of agents in the insurance industry, and we're here to help we're here to help make it give you peace of mind about something that's really going to help agencies grow.
Fantastic. Caden, thanks again for joining us today, and glad to visit with you and look forward to talking with you in the future.
Yeah, you as well.